exciting announcement. We now have Brockton Bay Book Club merch. We've got our Brockton Bay Book Club t-shirt, as well as the Brockton Bay's sweatshirt. They look sweet. Hannah designed them, and they're amazing. So if you're interested in that, link will be in the description. And shout out to Hannah for all the sweet designs. Thanks so much for your guys' support, and go check it out. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
Take that, you worms. We are back with the final chapters of Worm into the epilogues. Putting the final bow on this season, on this show, this little hypothetical series that we have concocted is coming to an end. Welcome.
Yep. It's crazy.
It is. It's kind of crazy. Been about a year in this serial. Well, and series.
More than a year. But,
yeah, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been more than a year, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Mm-hmm. And what a good year it's been.
What a great year. And we've already talked at length, about how we would love to go back and revisit changes we've made and incorporate new ideas we've had and fix bad ideas we had.
Oh boy.
And I'm already planning for the rewrites, but we got to finish draft 1 first.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us here to the epilogues. How are we wrapping up this season 5? That's the question. Alan, what did you like from the epilogues? What do you want to keep here?
Okay, I like epilogues as a concept. I enjoy seeing people go throughout their normal lives, kind of. Seeing how they progress. I like seeing the flash forwards, where they are. All that really, really does it for me. But I think there are some that kind of stray, that maybe don't need to be as, I don't know. They stray into the more conflicting rather than just kind of reestablishing normal. So.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I think there's some we keep. I think there's some we get rid of or majorly cut down. Same old.
Yeah, pretty standard, sort of, as we've been doing, if you will. I think I guess we can just kind of go through them and see if there's anything individually from the epilogues that we really like. Yada yada, and then maybe try to put it all together for our final scene or scenes, so
I think going through each one, we need to talk about what is the point of this epilogue. What does it provide to the end of the story? As an epilogue, is it just establishing what's going on, like the standard from now on. Now that we've hit the climax, we're reestablishing
the after.
base. Is this, a little fan servicey? Okay, that's what Epilogue's kind of that. At least for me, Epilogue's very fan servicey. Does it introduce things that we need to look forward to or could possibly look forward to in a sequel? But not to the point that like we're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's definitely what's going to happen if we go there next time.
Right.
And I had one more. Is this straying too far away from our original story? I think a lot of times with prologues to stories, you have things that are so out of the woodwork. And most of the time, the difference between that story and then your first chapter is worlds apart. But by the end of your story, you're kind of back to the prologue. Like, okay, I get the prologue now. I don't want the epilogue to be leaving that territory of what we've been reading either.
Right.
And mostly I'm talking about regards to characters that we know. And yeah, I think characters is probably the biggest thing we need to focus on for this.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Well, I mean, starting us off in the first epilogue with Yamada and Ciara, Fairy Queen, or how do we say her name? Kira, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Jury's out. Yeah. Fairy Queen, Valkyrie, yada.
Yamada.
I like this.
Yamada.
Yamada. Yeah.
What's
I like
Yamada
this,
with you?
I like this chapter. I do really like the idea of seeing Yamada with a cape. I think it makes sense that we don't change that from being Kira here. I like that. There are a lot of this. This chapter does, I think, drag a bit in terms of what we would want to take from it, especially towards the end. But I like the idea of just having a conversation with Yamada kind of towards the end of the series. It feels very complete to have her present there.
Yeah.
Plus, how we're going to make a spin-off show about her if we don't, have a little more tease.
Yep.
Right. Well, and yeah, speaking to that too, because like there is a fine line between setting up expected sequels and leaving your world in a state in which it's going to thrive, without any more intervention.
I'm joking mostly, but
it's good to point out. Yeah, obviously, I know. But yeah, so I do like this chapter though. I think I'd want to keep most of it in concept at least. I think it's a nice conversation. It wouldn't take a ton of time.
Yeah. What about the second half of this?
Yeah, I don't think I would add much of the second half. I mean, I like it reading it, of course. I feel like we sound like a broken record. I got to always make that divide. I love this chapter. I like the conversation with Bonesaw and Nilbog and them, but I don't know how much it adds in terms of character conclusions or how much is necessary for character conclusions.
Yeah. I agree. I think second half, I don't feel like we really need it. In fact, I would almost say that Miss Yamada needs to be our focus character here instead of Ciara. I think the purpose that Valkyrie does serve in this is number one, to give us, show Yamada that's still there, and then show the state of the PRT.
Yeah.
Which is now the Wardens. So,
Yeah, this is the, like, you're spelling it out perfectly. This is the PRT epilogue, where what are they doing here to scramble together what's left of society, and kind of setting that up. I think you nailed it with
Yeah.
that.
I think we cut Chevalier butting in. I think is real stupid. Like, I'll be honest. I don't know Chevalier well enough probably to speak for him, but given what I've seen of him in like better times when he's not scrambling to save the world, I feel as if he might be waiting right outside the door, but I don't see him like knocking on the door being like, "Oh, make sure she joins the heroes."
hmm
Like yeah, I think having him wait out right outside the door so like when she's done, Miss Yamada steps out, she's like I need you to leave, like get out of here. Like
Yeah.
and he's like, can do, still got to kind of like watch her until she makes a decision. And then, the big question being like, is Valkyrie going to, she's talked, they've said, but ultimately is she going to decide? Or maybe this is like her checkout appointment, basically
Yeah.
to affirm whether she's good for it or not. And her and Yamada have the conversation of like, do you want to be a hero? Do you want to be with this group?
Mhm.
Is that even a thing you want to do? And I feel like kind of like both are neither talking themselves into it or out of it. It's just a conversation about it.
Mhm. Yeah. Maybe instead of like actually interrupting, maybe he's just like peeking through the window up front and the back, just like constantly leaning in, looking, leaning in, and finally Yamada's like, "Okay, hold on, give me a second."
Yeah, and then chews him out outside.
Yeah. That feels more Chevalier.
That's
Yeah,
perfect.
or she's like, "Hey, give me a moment," and then goes outside and has a word with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And then I think we cut from there to a
Mhm.
different thing. I think we have the announcement later.
Oh, that's a good thought. Yeah, I like that actually. Kind of break it up a bit. Yeah. Well, let's cut there then. Let's come back. Let's go to epilogue 2, Imp and the Heartbroken Children plus Shadowstalker at the end.
I
I
like this.
Yep.
I mean, I'll let you go.
I mean, I'm curious what you have to say. I like this a lot as a chapter. This is one of my favorite chapters of the epilogues here. It's so good.
Yeah.
I do think all of the Heartbroken Children, as much attention as they're given here, is probably too much for a whole epilogue. Like this is like a full setup for a whole
Yeah.
new cast of characters. But
think-
I like seeing Imp thrive afterwards. I think is something we should show.
Yeah. I think Imp being this weird foster mother to them, having to talk with Shadowstalker, and then ultimately we'll see her later on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's also a really good, another good two-parter. I love seeing that. We've got civilization on one point where, we're in a city, things are happening with Yamada and Valkyrie, but out here in the outer lands, that winter's coming, things are hard, and I like showing off. Oh, this guy's kind of a dick. He's doing a little warlord thing out in the borderlands, and then all of a sudden, Imp and her gaggle show up and they start doing their thing. Just showing off, and maybe there's like a message like, "Hey, while you were torturing this guy, you got a text. Tattletale says she wants to meet. Okay, cool," and then they bounce. Um, I don't know if we necessarily need to have the Shadowstalker conversation right away because I actually kind of like it later.
I think it would work better later too. I agree. Yeah.
So we
Remind
jump
me
from that.
if I'm misremembering or just I don't know. Is it confirmed? Does Imp kill Heartbreaker?
Yes.
Okay. When did that happen? Is that implied to have happened after the end of the world or way?
No. Like right after Alec dies. She spends like 6 months.
Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly when that. Okay, got it. Okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
She has the heart broken by the time she sees Taylor again.
Oh, that's you're right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, and then I agree. Save the conversation with Shadowstalker for the end.
Yeah. And I think that's another, point of this epilogue. Shows Imp. What is Imp doing? How has she grown? And then the conversation with Imp and Shadowstalker, kind of discussing, honestly, the fallout of Taylor more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also showing the state of the world, another part of the world, because you have the city that's trying to rebuild, and you have these people that are struggling on the outside of the city.
This episode of the Brockton Bay Book Club is sponsored by Maid Marian. Maid Marian creates custom cottagecore and run-fair clothing designed for every body. Whether you're looking for a lace-up bodice, rustic apron and pinafore, or ethereal dresses, you'll find items customized for every individual's fit and design. All items are lovingly hand-sewn with attention to detail and a touch of whimsy. Visit Maid Marian today and transform your wardrobe with clothing that feels as enchanting as it looks. Find Maid Marian on Etsy at themaidmarian.etsy.com.
Third one. Arguably, probably one of the tougher ones.
Yeah, honestly, again, I love Defiant. I love Dragon. I love their relationship. I think this is one of those would probably simplify a bit. Maybe just having Defiant fixing her code. If you want to leave it, I guess maybe a little ambiguous just for fun, you can. But I think the whole fight between Pandora and Dragon would, unless you want to go like full, computer code CG renders, something like that would look really odd. Maybe I'm just not thinking about it the right way, but I feel like that gets way too.
I have an idea for it, and it would be simplifying it.
Throw it out.
Okay, so my first instinct, of course, is to like get rid of this or show this in a montage of like people's happy endings. So you just, there's, Defiant and somebody he's with that, kind of looks like Dragon, and in their happy little Dragonheim village. However, if you really wanted to make it feel closer to the emotional turmoil that's going on, you have Defiant working on something, in the ship. Dragon comes and gets him, like, hey, dinner's ready, and he touchingly like, hey, we've talked about it a lot, and basically has this little very quick conversation that like, would you rather have your freedom, or would you rather like what would you want? And she, her basically give him an answer that's like, I want I want us to be free together. Like that's the goal. Like if I can't be with you, as who I'm supposed to be with you, then like it's not worth living. And he goes like, okay, like that essentially answers it for me. And then when she leaves, he like quickly seals the thing, and then hits the like Pandora's box open thing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we have him have a quick thing where he's inside the ship, and he basically says like, this is the, you asked like, what's the price of freedom essentially, and this is what it means, killing you. And then he hits go, and just slinks slumps down while the computer like starts engaging the code. But obviously there's two different like lines or colors of text going back and forth, and you can hear like banging on the outside of the ship, like, what did you do? What did you do? And he just kind of like sits there and kind of like cries. And later on, a couple scenes later, we have him, the banging has stopped. And, there's just the three, the waiting to input code thing, like dot, dot, just kind of flashing on the screen.
Right.
And he opens the door and Dragon is there in her human form, but clearly it's not the same one.
Mm.
And she's like, she calls him like Defiant or Arms Master even. Like, Arms Master, is that you? Like, where am I? What happened?
Yeah.
And he's like, he just goes like, you're free.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think that does work a good bit better.
I think you can do it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you have to explain too much. Just that, like, we know that she can boot up from cloud saves. And we know that doing that requires you to overwrite the save. So, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, works.
Yeah, I do like that. I think that's better. It gives them a slightly more ambiguous but a hopeful ending, I think, which is nice.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
Yeah. And I also like, because Pandora had some weird stuff where she really wasn't that long ago. Like, she was still when Dragon and Defiant were together.
Yeah.
Like, I believe the time they lost is literally the time skip.
I think so. Yeah, it's
so like they were together for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had that, and I think that I guess it's okay to take it back there, but if you really wanted to make it hurt, you'd take it all the way back to her calling him Arms Master.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
Yeah. I think that'd be fun to play around with. I'm not set on either one idea, but I think there's potential for both, depending on how you wanted to end it. Because again, it's a loss, and I think that's kind of the fun thing you can do with Dragon as a character is you can there's still consequences for her dying, but she does get to live. She's a robot, you kind of can get away with that,
And if we want like one of those quick one sentence explanations, all of her backups got destroyed on Gold Morning, except for some of the older ones.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could work around it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. I think it's
next one. Yeah, I think that's
one.
good.
Well, good way to
Easy
keep
scene.
that in.
Yeah, I think you can fit that in.
Rachel's interlude.
I like it. I like Rachel's interlude a lot.
Yes.
So, if I'm trying to frame all of the epilogues here, and how to make them cohesive as possible. And the one way I think it kind of would work well is pick a date. Let's say a year post Kepri and all of that. And it's kind of being set up as we are checking in on the Undersiders primarily, but also the state of the world. A year's probably too long, but you get my drift. Anyway, and we're seeing kind of where they're at. But in order to sort of put a thread of unity through these scenes that we're seeing, I like the idea of them sort of coming back together for, say, like the anniversary of the event to mourn the loss of their Undersiders that they've lost. So, Imp, we get Rachel here. Obviously, we're going to get Tattletale at the end. Just sort of seeing them in their environment, seeing in their appetites. But the last scene, kind of to skip ahead, I like the idea of closing on the Undersiders together, So make all of them making their way back towards that final interlude, essentially. So I like the idea of getting a scene with Rachel living her best life, taking to heart what Taylor has told her over the years. The conversation with Miss Militia, I think, is good. Again, it's a lot of this ambiguous, how's the world really gonna be in the future? Is humanity gonna survive or not? All this kind of stuff. But just seeing Rachel doing well, I think, is important. I think that's how you want to see her character end.
Yeah, she's thriving.
Yeah, thriving is a strong word, but as much as she can be thriving, I think, for sure. I mean, the image of her riding into town on the back of a dog is great.
Yeah. Cut right to the Western. She's rolling in.
Yeah.
She's looking for this guy. Gets him. Miss Militia's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And, she's like, are we going to have a problem? She's like, just tell me next time. And then something goes off. And, she's like, hey, you guys take that guy. I'm going to head out with Miss Militia and help out. And, or see what's up. Run in, see the broken trigger, which is a nice little tease. But I think either we get her over there to talk to Miss Militia.
Mm-hmm.
I think as much as I like the idea of Miss Militia being like, what are you, like, hey, what are you doing with this guy? I think it'd probably be better for them to run to the thing and then her be like, hey, what are you doing here, by the way? And she's like, oh, we were like manhunting. And she's like, you can't do that.
Yeah. No.
So another good two-parter. They track the guy down.
Yep.
And then you can jump all the way over to, going to see the trouble and then having to talk with Miss Militia afterwards and then leaving for, her, for the meeting. So, three-parter there, I think all work pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
In my head, she's just getting like, it's just full Western in my head. It opens on the guy she's been tracking being thrown through the saloon window outside
by a dog,
and then he just falls off the front porch and he's like about to get up and then he hears what you think is like the horse. He's like, it's like all the horses are like lashed up out front, but one of them's a dog, and he's he's laying there next to the dog, and then Rachel comes out of the door. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
It'd be so funny.
That's great.
Just full Western anime mix thing.
Oh yeah,
it'd be awesome.
Yeah. I dig. I really think they lean into the Western thing. It'll be real fun. Epilogue 5, teacher.
Cut it. Whole thing. It's gone. Get it out of here.
Say no more.
On agreement. Oh yeah. Yeah, again, neat chapter, but in terms of the stories we're wrapping up here, just does not fit in with anything we're telling.
Yeah.
Again, I wouldn't mind revisiting this if we, restructure certain things as we, come back from multiple drafts and start putting pieces in order. But as we have it right now, cut it.
Yeah. And finally, the last interlude.
The big shebang. Well, everything with the Undersiders, Tattletale, Parian, Foil, the rest of the gang, everything there stays, I think. It's
absolutely, I agree.
It's very good. Yeah. When it comes to the bits with Taylor in Alternate Earth, I don't mind. I know we stand opposed on this interlude overall. I don't mind a far, far more ambiguous ending of sorts if we want to. Maybe just between Tattletale and like Contessa, or honestly, and this is something I've thought a lot about because she's not really in these epilogues at all, despite maybe being the one character outside of the Undersiders that should have been. Maybe a brief conversation with like Amy and Tattletale, where kind of way two people who are in the know wouldn't explicitly say it, but just like, she's safe, she's over there, whatever, we could kind of reword it a bit there. Because the implication being that Contessa and Amy and Tattletale would have all been probably maybe the only three that knew what happened to Taylor. So open to suggestions for this series as well. I don't mind making it more conclusive, ending it on Taylor's death with no possible other alternative, and just ending it that way. I think is equally valid for the story we're telling here. But either way, maybe a way to honor the original work without changing it too much.
Yeah, like I said before, I am very okay just ending it, with Taylor's death in terms of her storyline. But also, when we were talking about this on the book club, I think perhaps changing up the conversation with the grandma, the old woman on the
Yeah, I like
train,
what you said.
in favor of her mother not knowing it's her.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about, like, just having this conversation. Maybe Taylor starts it by, hey, like, I see you're reading a book. Like, my mother liked to read, yada, yada, yada. And, we've got, injuries or something like that. Or maybe maybe the injuries don't show until she goes to grab her wrist, and the hand comes off. And we never show her face, or maybe even it is a different, like, you get a different actor that looks very similar, so that she can show her face from under the hood, but not have it be obvious that it's Taylor.
Right.
But have this conversation, have her basically have all the injuries that she should have, and then when she goes to see, she gets off, you have her meet up with a guy and throws her arm around her and says, "Was it her?" And she goes, "Yeah, but like, um, but it wasn't at the same time." And they walk off, but the voice is very Danny, which would be great because we haven't heard from Danny in 5 ever.
Yeah, right.
So you don't even show his face. You just kind of have the silhouette and them turning and walking, and the audio be him asking, "Was it her?" And Taylor, of course, going, like, yes, but no, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or, you doing okay? Like, yeah, glad I got that out of the way. And they turn and walk. And that way you never have a conclusive who it is. We don't say who it is, but
You're
you
right.
also, maybe the importance of that, I think, is a little bit of fan service just to see Taylor's alive, have her interact with her mom in a way, and I think have a conclusive ending. There's a bunch of these conversations. The most important ones being Imp and Shadowstalker talking about Taylor and the impact and the choices she made, and how that lasts, how that's going to be viewed forever. And then on this flip side, we have Taylor talking about the choice that she made. And I think, you maybe have to change the focus of the conversation just a little. But yeah, I think you could have it in there and
Yeah,
have it work.
make it tasteful, make it work.
Yeah, I think you could even start with the girl and the woman on the train starting up a conversation. That's the opener. Then you cut to Jessica Yamada, cut to the Warlord, cut to Defiant working on code, cut to Rachel tracking down people, cut back to Imp doing her thing, back to the visit, back to the Warlord, Defiant doing his, breaking out from the button, Valkyrie getting announced, Rachel, as she gets announced, Rachel, Imp, all of them meet up. And you're right. I think it would be really good to have maybe not Amy, although I think if we directed this show in a different way, Amy would be the conversation here with Tattletale.
Mhm.
But I think Contessa and Tattletale having a wee bit conversation would not be amiss.
Actually, yeah, I agree there with you a lot. And this is a thought I had the other day after we finished recording for arc 30, which was I like the idea of at the very end, Contessa and Taylor having that final conversation, away from everybody. If that conversation was between Taylor and Amy, feels more thematic, um, just because they actually share a bit of history in the show where Contessa really doesn't. Contessa should still be the one to pull the trigger, but I like Amy being there. Just something to kind of think about.
You could
But
have
that
Amy
would-
talk to somebody wrapped in bandages in a bed.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of the final conversation between Contessa and Taylor, just thinking about how that works, I think would be more satisfying if Amy was the one speaking instead of Contessa. But the random thought. Anyway, all that to say, I like the idea of if we gave Amy something more to do with that scene than Contessa talking to Tattletale in the finale here, I think would work a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, once again, in a different arc, in a massive rewrite that I would love to present.
Yeah.
Streamlined, but I think a cleaner path. I've mentioned before where I think Amy and Taylor being the dual narrative would actually be really strong. Ultimately, having Amy be the one that sets Taylor off, and then Amy be the one that's essentially portals in, puts her hands on Taylor's head, and is able to shut the fix her brain, sort
Mhm.
of. And say like, hey, I could end you right now, or I could fix you up.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I
Taylor
think
being like,
even
after all I've done, it's not worth it, yada yada yada. And also you could do it where Amy's like, being a little bit sadistic, is like, no, you don't get to just die and get away with it. Like,
yeah.
you wouldn't let me, go. You wouldn't let me, just roll over and die for the Slaughterhouse 9. Why do you think I would make your life any easier now?
Mhm.
On a flip side, if we had, the character, the character arc of them going back and forth, you would have Amy have her character growth moment kind of at the end here, going like, we've fought, we've teamed up, we fought again. And here at the end, like, I'm going to choose to essentially give you back life. But we don't say that, we just cut.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the strength of Worm has always been how little handholding there is. So much is implied or hidden or stated through action, not exposition. And I think you could. I think by this point, the audience, hopefully, the audience is as invested in the story as you want them to be, and should be able to sort of pick up the pieces there.
Yeah.
No, I like that a lot. I think there's a lot of really subtle and fun ways that you can just sort of tweak the ending a bit so that it's a bit more conclusive. Feels a bit more finished.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a good finish. I think maybe there are some of those conversations that don't need to be as long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think you really could have Amy step out of a portal, put her hand on Taylor's head, and go like, I could make this all go away, or if you wanted to keep living, or uh, you know, we could, I could fix you up. What's it
Mm-hmm.
going to be? And Taylor, just kind of mumbles something. And, she goes, basically, was it worth it? At the end of all this, was it worth it? And Taylor says her little line, and then Amy, fucking brain zaps her.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be more than
I mean, I
two
think you could.
paragraphs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even mind extending it too much, but I think you can. There's a lot of really fun ideas that you can play with. There's, Taylor is such an idealist, and she's so confident in herself that I think it'd be kind of fitting if at the end she has accepted death. She's standing there. Amy's there. Amy's like, I can fix this for you. And Taylor's like, you can't. I know she's not supposed to really be able to speak here, but
I mean, Amy brain zaps her. There, she can speak now.
You're right. But the issue is that, so like, Taylor's like, you can't fix this. My passenger won't let you get close enough to me at this point. Passenger's taking over. Taylor is just so set in this being her end. And I like what you said about Amy being like, nah, you don't get to end this on your terms. Like, you're not going to get off that easy, but can't get closer. And then behind her, Contessa steps out and fires 2 shots.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
And Amy's like, again, you don't have to spell it out, but just, then maybe Contessa and Amy have I'm throwing it at the whiteboard here, but,
No, that's fun.
little conversation, what do you want to do? This is up to you, anything you want to do like that. You could do it a dozen different ways and make it work, I think. Have a lot of fun with it. It's a really, really, I love the way Taylor's story ends. I think it's fantastic. And I think there's a lot of room to really drive it home.
Yeah.
Can't wait for you guys to tell these ideas to the other members of the Brockton Bay.
We'll have to organize a few of these ideas a bit more.
Ooh, so shocking. I love it.
No, it's fun. I like this is what it's all been about. Contrary to popular belief, we have no contacts in Hollywood. We're not on any sort of studio payroll. This isn't getting made, but it's been such a blast getting to think about it and have fun with these ideas and think through the problems and challenges and ways in which a different medium can really enhance the story beyond what the serial can, and where it lacks a lot of times, where it's really difficult. So
yeah,
it's a lot of fun getting to talk through this.
Yeah, for sure.
Any last thoughts on these epilogues, Alan?
No, I think honestly, I feel like we agreed on most things. I think we're good.
Yeah, put a nice little bow on the series. Definitely enough to work with here, where I think we can give 5 seasons of intense television a pretty satisfying, just slow burn of a fade out. Nothing too sudden. I think Wild Boat gave us enough to work with on that front.
Yeah.
Or just cut to black with the 2 shots in the back of the head, play some Linkin Park and call it a day.
I like it. Yeah.
Well, if there's nothing else to be said, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode. Thank you, both of you, Michael and Alan, for joining me as always. Thank you. Special thanks to our patrons who have been a shining light on this long year. 2024 was so much fun. We got a lot done, and our patrons have been with us the entire time. And special shout out to all of you. Thank you so much. If you want to join our exclusive patron Discord, we share memes and jokes and ideas and talk about the episodes and the stories. Consider joining. We have a variety of tiers, including just a $1 tier, $1 a month, to join our special little club. And if you think, well, why would I join? They're almost done. Oh, you fools. As if we're not going to read Ward. as if we're not going to, like, as if we're not going to continue making content. Oh ye of little faith. And we do have bonus content and episodes for our patrons exclusively. Some not worm related, some barely worm related. So we have a lot of fun. It's going to continue. 2025 is going to be a great year. We're having a blast, and we thank you so much for listening. We hope that you continue. At the very least, would be honored to have you join us for the rest of the year. And
Exactly.
on that note, we'll go ahead and call it there. Thanks so much for listening. Tune in next week for what will probably be, I don't know when this comes out. Michael can edit over my voice here. For what will probably be the season and series finale of Dissecting Worm, where we get to display this in its full glory to Nick and Hannah and get their thoughts and put the final bow on the pie, on the tree. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, I nailed it. Got it.
Mhm.
And until then, as always, take that, you worms.
Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at Brocktonbaybc, or click the link in the description.